Hello everyone and welcome back to the Scots Scheme with Macalester College head football coach Coach Jennison. The Scots Scheme is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Macalester coach questions about the Scots, football or sports in general, or just seek Coach Jennison's wisdom about life events. In this week's episode, the coach talks to us about the hard-fought victory over Lawrence this last Saturday. He discusses the Scots Mount Rushmore, and Kiante Miles joins the program. Let's get right to the Scots Scheme. So let's welcome back to the Scots Scheme. Coach Jennison, do you have team updates for us this week?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rob. Updates, obviously a nice win last weekend over a really improved Lawrence team. Just really impressed with the job that Rob McCarthy does over there. Rob and I used to work together at Eau Claire in the late 90s, and we've gone our separate ways since then. But he's a really good coach. He's a great recruiter. He's doing really good things, and they gave us everything that we could handle. So excited that we got a win. Didn't play our best, we didn't feel, but at the same time, I think you have to credit Lawrence for that as well. So good win last weekend. Obviously, when you keep winning, as we have been, the games keep getting bigger and bigger, and this week a really strong Lake Forest team coming to town. Jim Canzaro, their head coach, is someone I really respect. He actually was our liaison with the NCAA when we made it to the national playoffs 2 years ago, so I got to know him through that a little bit, and did a really good job helping us navigate that process and whatnot. So he's a class act, done a really good job with this Lake Forest program, and they pose a big challenge. They're a very good football team. I know that their record this year is 4-2, but they've lost to the two top teams, in my opinion, in the conference, in Monmouth and St. Norbert. So they provide a really big challenge for us. I'm very hopeful that the long drive up here is going to put them to sleep, and they're going to get very lethargic on us. So let's hope for that.
And they'll still be a good team after losing to the top three teams in the conference. So that'll be all right.
That's going to be easier said than done, because they are a very good football team. They're very sound in what they do, and I think our questions are going to get to that here, I'm guessing.
Well, let's talk about last week's game first of all. Okay. That you got out to a quick start, 2 touchdowns right off the bat, and then kind of struggled offensively. Was that just Lawrence kind of changing what they were doing?
You know, I don't know that they changed a whole lot. I just don't think that we executed as well as we need to. And sometimes, you know, this has been a conversation with our players. I think sometimes we get complacent. We don't do our very best in certain situations. You know, maybe when we have a lead, we coast a little bit, and we have to learn how to, play at the same intensity, the same level at all times. And I don't think we did a good job of that last weekend. Now, with that being said, Lawrence made plays. They were the better team, especially in the second half. And basically, I mean, that's the reason that we struggled, is because they were making plays. In terms of our offense, though, you know, I think it comes down to the execution, and we just didn't execute very well. We noticed that, you know, watching the film, you go back and review everything, and it seemed as though we were very close on a lot of plays to making things happen, but one person would get beat, or one person wouldn't do his job, and then it impacted the entire play. So, I know that looking back at the film, we weren't as displeased as we thought maybe we were going to be after watching the video, especially in the second half, because it was just one little thing here or there that really impacted the play. So we've been putting in a hard week of work here, and we're hoping to correct some of those mistakes so that we do execute better offensively.
You and I talked a little bit after the game about the fact that it seems like a new person steps up on offense every week to wind up having a big contribution. Last week it was Jonathan Nee and Jacob Jones. How is it that you're getting that kind of contributions from guys?
You know, I really believe that we're a talented team, and I believe we have a lot of young men on our team that are capable of making big plays. It's just maybe they don't have, you know, maybe their number's not called as much, or maybe the ball doesn't go their way, or based on scheme, we're not, you know, they don't have as many opportunities. But I really feel that we have a lot of playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, and I believe that when their number is called, you know, as a football player, you need to be ready to take advantage of every opportunity, and certain guys are better at that, and I really thought Johnny Nee did a great job stepping up this week. I think he had over 100 yards all-purpose. He had a long kick return for us. He had a bunch of yards receiving. He had a bunch of yards rushing, and really stepped up his game. And we're not surprised. Johnny's a talented athlete. He's someone that we know has that big play-making ability. He set a record this year for our pro agility tests. 5 yards one way, 10 back, and five the other way, for a team record since I've been here. So in the last 9 years, he's had the best pro agility of any player we've had in our program. And Samson Bialystock held that record before, and Samson was a pretty dynamic player. So we know that Johnny's got it in him, and I don't think he's the only one. I think there are other people in our program that have that same type of ability. It's just a matter of taking advantage of the opportunities when they present themselves, and that's what I'm really proud of Johnny for doing last weekend, because he did take advantage of those opportunities.
At the end of last week's game, it looked like you opted to try to throw more, looking to make some big plays out of that instead of just trying to run out the clock. What was the thought process behind that?
Really, it's taking what the defense gives us, and they were playing a little bit more heavy in terms of the run game, so we tried to pass the football, and obviously weren't as successful as we wanted to be. So essentially just running our offense, and instead of pounding the run game when we feel it wasn't there in terms of numbers wise, we're taking what the defense gives us a little bit. But sometimes we're stubborn as coaches as well, and it's hard to get off of that feeling. But really, it was just executing our offense and trying to take what the defense would give us.
This week you take on Lake Forest, a team that you've never faced before. Have you seen enough in film or however so that you're able to figure out what they're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish, but I feel like we have a good feel of who they are. They're a very good football team. I can tell you that. Offensively, they're scary. I really like their quarterback, number 5. Their tailback is phenomenal. He's a really good player, and I think you've got a question about him a little bit later. They've got their receiving core is talented. Their O-line is strong, and they're good at pass blocking. They're good at run blocking. They're very solid offensively, and the thing that stands out to me offensively about them is that they execute very well. They work very well as a unit. So it's an impressive outfit. They do a really good job offensively. They're sound in what they do defensively. They seem pretty straightforward in terms of lining up and playing, but they play hard. And that's another thing I notice about their team. They play hard, whether it's offense, defense, special teams. They're really good in the special teams, too. They've blocked a number of kicks this year. They've returned some kicks for touchdowns. So they really pose a challenge for us. And again, I'm not surprised. Jim is a great football coach, and you can tell that his players care about him and because they play hard for him. And again, it's a big challenge for us.
Now, you mentioned about senior running back Joey Valdivia. I hope I'm saying that right. Having just a monster season for them, what are you seeing that's allowing him to have such success?
Talent. He's just a really good player. First of all, he's a big kid. I don't know his size. I'm trying to look it up here, and I'm missing him on my little sheet.
I think 7'8", 390 or something.
7'8", 390. Yeah, I'm not surprised. But he's a bigger kid. He's a taller young man. There he is, 5'11", 205. I tell you what, he looks taller than 5'11". On video. But I know Marshall early in the week made the comparison to Robert Smith. I don't know if anybody remembers Robert Smith from the Vikings years ago, but he was that tall running back that really had long strides and was powerful enough to run through people. But when he got into open fields, he would just really take off because of those long strides. And that's what their running back here, number 28, reminds me of too. He's talented. There's one play I remember in the St. Norbert game where he catches a ball in the flat and he takes a couple steps and he's got a corner coming up to tackle him. He puts a foot in the ground and basically just changes direction so quickly to get upfield that the cornerback completely whiffed on him. Didn't touch him one bit because he got vertical so quickly, north and south so quickly. So that one play, he gained, 5 yards maybe, if that. But after seeing that play, I was like, wow, this guy, he's different. And he is. He's a really good back. He's going to be a challenge for us to corral. The hard part about that is, they've got a really good quarterback and really good receivers too. Number 20, their receiver number 20 is pretty special too. I think he's a senior and he plays like it. He's all over the place and making plays, and so they're very good offensively. I think if we put all of our attention on number 28, Joel Valdivia, I don't know if that's how you said it, they can hurt you in other ways. So we're going to have to be sound all around in what we do, and change things up, bring some pressure at them, play off, play base, and change up the coverages here and there, and try to catch them in some things, because no matter what you do against them, they're going to have an answer, because they have talent spread around, and they're strong up front too. Their offensive line is solid. They've got all juniors and seniors up there. They're big. They've got size. They've got length, and again, they're good at both run blocking and pass blocking. So they're I would say they could be the strongest offense I think we've seen all year. In fact, looking back at our schedule, I would say they're definitely the strongest offense that we feel we've faced all year.
So what do you say to your defense to prepare for a running back like that with such talent?
I don't say anything to him. I let Marshall do all that. I trust Marshall Mullenbach and the defensive staff. We've got an awesome defensive staff, and they're great coaches. And basically, it's just a matter, again, of playing sound. I think our players know we're going to be honest with them. We're going to tell them that the quarterback's really good. Number 20 at wide receiver is pretty special. That the tailback 28's really good as well. They're good up front. They're big, and our players can see that. They watch the video too, and they see these guys. So it's not like we can lie to our players or try to fool them or play psychological games with them. So basically, it's just being honest with them that this is a pretty darn good football team, and we try to teach them about their tendencies and who they are, or what they like to do out of certain formations, if you can pick things up, and what they do on downs and distances and that type of thing. So it's not really anything we say. I think it's more just a matter of preparing them for who Lake Forest really is.
Now, they have a younger defense. You've coached a number of younger defenses here with a lot of sophomores and freshmen on them. Do you find that it's easier to work a defense like that into making mistakes?
No. I wish it were. I wish we had ideas on how to do that. But I think it revolves around talent, and they're talented defensively, Lake Forest, as I think we are defensively. They've got speed out there. They've got good size up front. I'm looking at their defensive line here, and it's 6'4", 6'3", and 6'4" with their starters. That's pretty impressive, and their defensive backs are very strong. Number 21 is a really good player, and we've been really impressed by him. And they've got some corners that are good too, and even their linebackers run and tackle well too. So. Quite honestly, I didn't know that they were younger on defense because it doesn't show on film. So, but no, I don't think there's really anything you can do to that. It's not as if, we are who we are offensively. It's not like we're going to change all of our schemes, to prepare for their defense. And they're a pretty traditional defense, in that they run traditional coverages like most teams and that type of thing. So. We are who we are, and we're going to line up and play, and hopefully we'll be able to move the chains on them.
Well, let's head to our fan questions this week. We first of all begin with William from St. Paul. He wonders, Coach, should you and Monmouth be tied with the same conference record at the end of the season? How is it determined who wins the conference title? Since I guess you guys don't play head-to-head.
No, we don't. You know what, William? I don't know. Quite honestly, I haven't really cared about that. I'm just focused on one game at a time, and I really don't know. And it was the same thing 2 years ago when we went into the last week of the season. I didn't know what the tiebreaker was until we looked it up that week, because it mattered at that point. So I'm not going to, make decisions throughout the course of the season in week, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that, are going to try to impact something later down the road. We're going to try to win the football game as best we can on this day, and if we're good enough to win a conference championship, that's great. And if it gets to be that we're undefeated at the end of the season in conference, where that matters, then we'll pay attention to it. I know a couple of years ago it was quarters, how many quarters you led, and I don't know because of the change in the conference with with Carroll leaving this year, and University of Chicago is joining next year, where we go back to the divisional play. But this year it's just one big conference. There's not the North and South Division. There's no divisional play this year. So I know in 2014 when there was divisional play, and last year in 2015, the tiebreaker was quarters led. But with everything being different this year, I don't know if that's still the tiebreaker. It very well could be, but I'm not exactly sure. And again, I'm probably making a mistake, but I really don't care. I'm focused on just winning this football game and putting our players in the best position to be successful. And again, if it gets to be later down the road and we have to worry about that, we will. But I really don't care about it right now.
Jamie would like to know, is there anyone who is performing way beyond what you expected when the season began?
It's hard for me to answer because we have high expectations of the young men in our program, and I think that for the most part, it's not a surprise when someone plays very well. One young man does come to mind. Zach Gullerud Zach Gullerud's our starting center, and he had been a tight end for 3 years for us. And last year, out of necessity, we moved him to offensive line, and he ended up playing probably a little bit earlier than he was ready for. He wasn't, I don't think, he had all the coaching and all the technique work and stuff like that, but he did an all right job, and but didn't play much. He was a tight end for, I want to say, half the season or thereabouts. And so we didn't, know what to expect this year. We didn't even know if Zach would be a starter for us, but he had a great offseason. He worked his tail off and came back. He put on really good weight. He was really strong in his numbers, and he's just been a rock offensively for us at the center position. He's just an outstanding young man and very dedicated and been a great player for us this year. So if anyone, maybe Zach has been an awesome surprise, but I'm not surprised in the fact that who he is as a young man. He's a great young man who works really hard. It's just that he put on a bunch of weight over the summer, where in other years he had struggled to put on that weight. He changed positions, so I guess that would be the only reason for the nice little surprise who's performing beyond what we maybe expected. But it's really that we didn't really know what to expect with Zach. But again, he's earned it because of his work ethic, his attitude, and he's great. He's been our offensive player of the week for 2 weeks in a row now, and the players all call him Zachy G. And I've said to our team, it's somewhat a joke, so parents who are listening out there, don't freak out, please, but I joke with the team that Zach's my favorite player on the team, and that's been a running joke all season long. So there's other players that are close. There's other players that are working their way up, but and whenever I say that, the players who, I say it around say we completely understand because he's our favorite too. So Zach Gullerud has just been a stud this year, and he's great, a great young man, and having a great season.
John from Duluth would like to know, what is the vote on the Scots Mount Rushmore for?
So that's something that Rob, I think it was your idea, wasn't it? Rob?
Oh, you talked to me about the MLB one.
Oh, yeah. A couple years ago, there was, Major League Baseball was doing a little Mount Rushmore thing, and I think I voted for the Twins that day. I probably voted, I would guess, for Killebrew, Carew, Puckett, and Oliva would be my guess. I can't really remember, but I remember for whatever reason we must have had the conversation. You had thought, well, we should do that with Macalester football. So we gathered a little bit of information historically with some of the best players in history, and I'm confident we forgot a few because we just don't have great records around here. So if we did, I hope no one's offended, but it was Rob's idea to put it on the website and then do a vote, but I haven't seen it in a couple weeks. I know that I voted the very first day it was open, and I voted for Lee Nystrom, who is to me the most influential football alum here. He's also our D-line coach right now, and he played for the Green Bay Packers and obviously was an unbelievable football player. I also voted, trying trying to remember here. I voted for Samson Bialystock because of what he meant to our team a couple years ago and leading our team to a historic season. I voted for Blaine Coonsey just because everybody I talked to from the mid-'80s area talks about how Blaine's our defensive backs coach now, Blaine was an unbelievable player, and I know he was an All-American. He was All-Conference for multiple years, and I'm not surprised about that with how he teaches our defensive backs. He does a great job back there. And I also voted for Earl Bowman, who evidently back in the 1940s was a great player here. He was the uncle or some type of uncle of the Callahan brothers that we had a couple years ago, Reed and Cole Callahan. And from the stories I've heard over the years, a lot of people say that there's no way anyone could ever be better than Earl Bowman here. So out of respect for that era, I gave my vote to Earl Bowman as well. So those have been my four. I know you could go a lot of different directions with those votes. I know Tom Lindell was a pretty amazing quarterback around here. Once upon a time, I know Lee Schaefer was a great lineman here and academic All-American, and I think an All-American on the field as well. And there's other players too that I'm not naming off that historically have been very well received and talked about. John Coldigelli, Joel Moore at the linebacker positions. You hear a lot of stories about them. Brian Reitzner. And again, I know I'm forgetting some. Paul Olson, who's a trustee here at the college and an inspiration to me every time I talk to him. So we thought it would be a little fun, and I haven't seen what it's looking like now. Do you know, Rob, who's leading the votes or anything? But I know that when I voted, Coach Nystrom was on the top of the list. He had more votes than anybody else, but it was only like 3 or 4 at that point. So we'll see how it finishes out. But we just thought we'd have a little fun with it.
Yeah, I think the day that we did that, we were like the least qualified concession people of all time. There was like a track event or something. There was yourself, myself, and Coach Nystrom.
Yes, that's right. We were talking about it. We were running a concession stand for the MIAC track event or something along those lines. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. I couldn't remember.
We were the least qualified group of all time. Okay, our next question is from Joe, the father of the best college football coach in America.
Oh boy.
He says, if you were a player, would you want to play for a coach like yourself?
I don't know. I don't know what it's like to play for me. I think I coach the way that I think is right, but I don't know. Sometimes I think that I needed different styles of coaches, coaches that would challenge me more, coaches that maybe taught a little bit more in technique side. So I don't know. I don't know what type of coach would be best for me to have played for, and I don't know what it's like to play for me. So it's really hard question to answer.
Joe would also like to know, when the offense is stalling, do you ever add your own plays in to try to get the offense running?
No, and the reason I don't do that is because I learned over the years that it's not a good idea. My first couple of years out of coordinating our defense, when Marshall took over, I would give ideas and hey, I think we should do this. And there were times where I said, no, let's change that call to this. And Marshall, being the good soldier, would do it and we'd get torched. So I learned the hard way. I've done that offensively too with Mark. I've learned the hard way that my opinions might not always be the best opinions in that regard. Now, I think sometimes giving them ideas, hey, have we thought about this tweak or this adjustment, or have you run any of this lately? I'll do that, but I don't call any plays anymore. And there's a reason for it. It's because they know their job better than I do. They're the ones preparing at it, watching all the extra film. Mark focuses on Lake Forest defense. Marshall focuses on Lake Forest offense. James focuses on their special teams. They know more about it than I do because they watch more of the video. They watch more of the practices in terms of the video afterwards and whatnot. So no, I hire good people and I trust them to make good decisions, and I think we have that.
Our final question from Joe is, when you are on a recruiting visit, what are the most important things that you are looking for as part of that visit to a specific player?
The important things I'm looking to get across are just who we are as a football program. Nothing special, because it's not like it's going to do me any good to talk them into something that I think they want. So we are who we are. If you like us, great. If you don't, that's fine too. We're not the right fit for everyone. So it's basically just a matter of educating people what Macalester is as an institution, who we are as a football program, what the Twin Cities are like and what opportunities it provides, and what their experience is going to be like here as a Macalester student athlete. So it's basically just a matter of educating them about who we are, nothing more than that.
Do you find the interview with the player is more important, their parents? I mean, who really kind of sets that this is the kind of player I really want to get? I'm curious.
Yeah, my conversations with the players and parents, it usually happens at the same time. I just want to know who they are as people and figure out if they're a right fit. We've built our football program around really exceptional young men who are serious about challenging themselves academically, but also passionate about football. If someone doesn't have those traits, I'm not really interested in having them be a part of our team. So I want to get to know who they are as a young man and what type of family they come from. But we also, we meet as a staff after a visit and we talk about the family, the individual, to figure out if they'd be a good fit. And we also talk to our players to review what their thoughts were, because if someone's not a good fit, we don't want them. A couple of years ago, we had a really talented player who visited, and he was a multiple-year captain, very good player at a need position, and as coaches, we liked him. There were reasons where we weren't exactly sure in some areas about him, but our players came back to us and said he would not be a good fit here. And here it was, a really talented player who was pretty serious about Macalester, and he played a need position for us. And basically we had to call him and say, hey, you better keep your other options open because it just doesn't seem like it's a good fit. And it was really the feedback from our players. So I would say it's really a collection of information, and we take it all in and gather it and make decisions from that. So,
returning from last week, Peter from St. Paul asks again. He says, Toronto swept Texas. Feeling pretty good about yourself, I bet.
No, I feel pretty good about ourselves if we beat Lake Forest. For me, the baseball stuff, I haven't watched one game of the baseball playoffs. I really don't know what's going on because I don't see it anymore. It's football season now, so baseball season ended basically about August 1st, right around when football got pretty serious. In fact, now I think about it, July was pretty football intensive too because of all the camps and recruiting we did. So no, I feel pretty good about myself if we win this weekend.
Ben from St. Paul would like to know, he says, Coach, what will you dress up as for Halloween?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm not exactly sure yet, but I'm dressing up as something. I told our kids this year, because when is Halloween? I believe it's a Monday night,
yes.
And it's our bye week. So my plan is to get out of here where we're not going to be practicing that day. We'll be practicing later, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of that week. But my plan is to get out of here and actually go be a dad in Halloween. So I told the kids that I'm going to put on, some type of costume, and I'll run around the neighborhood with them. I'm really excited because last year I didn't get the opportunity to do that because Halloween, if I'm not mistaken, it fell on a Friday or a Saturday night, and we were on the road. We were traveling. So if it was a Friday night, we were in the hotel. If it was Saturday night, we were on a bus coming back, and I missed Halloween last year. So I've got a year to make up for it. So watch out because I'm going to be ready for it.
The neighbors are up for something here.
That's right, they are.
Our last part is, why is it great to be a Fighting Scot?
It's great to be a Fighting Scot because we got a big game coming up this weekend. Lake Forest is a talented team. They're a very strong team. The way they play, they execute, they play hard, they're sound, they're strong in all areas of the game, offense, defense, special teams. And it's great because with any challenge, there's great opportunity, and we're excited about that challenge. It's also nice to be home a second week in a row, like I said last week. So we're excited to host Lake Forest. Again, it will be a big challenge for us, and I hope we're ready to answer that bell. I think we will be.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us this week,
Rob.
Coach.
Take care.
Well, welcome back to the Scots Scheme. We have Kiante Miles with us. Kiante, big victory this last weekend against Lawrence. Tell us a little bit about what you saw during the game.
I saw our offense came out and attacked right away, which was really great, especially since we got the ball first, for them to come out and put it in the opponent's mind, hey, we're not messing around here. Defense came out the first half. We shut them down pretty well too. I did feel like in our second half, myself included, we kind of just let off the brakes a little bit. We were accelerating really good, and then we kind of let off the brakes a little bit for some reason. So I think the big thing that I saw last week is that we're still not where we need to be. Yeah, we got to win, but it could have been a lot better. We could have done some things a lot better, myself included in that. So I think what I saw mostly was that our chance for improvement.
The one thing I noticed during the game is that they seemed to be moving the ball in the second half, but you guys bend a little bit, but never broke. Was that kind of a strategy?
I don't know if I would really say it's a strategy, more as a mindset. Because in football, plays are going to happen. Someone's going to bust, and you could do everything right. Still, stuff is going to happen. That's just the way the game works. But to keep in the mindset to, hey, stop them at the 3-yard instead of letting them score, or, hey, hold them to a field goal instead of letting them score, is really just a mindset of next one wins, which is a philosophy that we've had around here, that you can't do anything about what just happened, but you can do something about this play that's happening right now. So I'd say it's more of a mindset that we definitely capitalized on last week.
This week you take on Lake Forest, who's got a big-time running back going for them. What's the challenge of him, do you think?
I definitely think that we can't tackle this guy high. We can't arm tackle him. We're actually going to have to use we can't be sloppy with our tackling, I guess I'm saying. We're definitely going to have to gain tackle. That's going to be the big challenge. He's a big guy, and he runs hard. So we're just going to have to meet and match his physicality.
Now, you talked about enjoying the challenge of things. Big play offense they have too. I think the top offense so far in the Midwest Conference. Are you looking forward to that competition?
I'm definitely looking forward to the competition. When life gives you challenges, you either can fall or you can rise to the occasion, and I like to think that we're going to rise to the occasion here.
You guys are 5-1 in the Midwest Conference. When you came into the season, is this the expectation you had at this point? Did you think this team was that good?
I did. I didn't really have anything else to team to compare it with. So in my mind, we were just the best team. And just to see how we were working and flowing and moving the ball and flying around on defense just in the preseason, I was like, we have the chance to do something special here if we keep this up.
What do you think you're going to see in the last 4 weeks of the season here?
Last 4 weeks, I think that we're going to see the best ball that we've been able to play, are going to be able to play. I feel like we're really going to string along all 4 quarters finally and play a full, complete game.
Have you found the expectation for the season was what you were looking for when you came to Macalester?
Yeah, definitely right off the bat, you get a feel not only from the coaches but the players as well that we're here to win. We're not here to mess around. Yes, it's fun. There's stuff we need to do, but in the end of the line, winning's fun, and we're gonna find the way that we can put ourselves in the best position to win. So right off the bat, we knew that the expectation was there, especially 2 years ago after in 2014, them winning the National Conference. So it's definitely has been there from the get-go.
For those out there who may not know very much about you in particular, tell us a little bit about Kiante Miles.
So I'm a freshman here, our first year here at Macalester College, coming all the way from Oklahoma. I play safety. Also in my free time, I do some slam poetry. I perform that. I've worked alongside ACS and to help prevent cancer death and cancer awareness. And I'm thinking about studying in the bio pre-med range.
That's awesome. What's something that maybe people don't realize, a hidden talent that you got out there that you'd like to tell us about?
Hidden talent? Man, I'd say my patience in fishing. I'm not the best fisherman, but I love fishing. And people are always so impressed that I can just sit there with not catching anything, but I'll sit there and just wait for them. But besides that, a lot of people are getting to know about my poetry, so that used to be my hidden talent. But now I just say my patience with fishing, man. It's not that many people can just wait for something to bite on.
Does that mean in your first year here that somebody's going to lure you into some ice fishing out here?
They might. I definitely can't get the craze over getting your feet on solid ice. In Oklahoma, there's ice, but if you step on it, you're falling through. So just getting that idea in my mind's kind of crazy.
So as our last question for you this week, why is it great to be a Fighting Scot?
It's great to be a Fighting Scot because every day something's new. And every day brings new challenges. And when you're a Fighting Scot, you rise to the occasion and you take on those challenges and you just always have a great time. You live the dream.
That's great. Thanks for joining us, Kiante.
Thanks for having me.
We want to thank Coach Jennison for joining us on the Scots Scheme this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Macalester coach, please send them to us at TonyJennison@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's TonyJennison@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Wednesday evening so we can give the coach a little time to review them before we record the show. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report.